Hey guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with more revenge stories. If you haven't already, please don't forget to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for exclusive Reddit content. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Justice Was Served. My parents are the owners of an apartment complex which has a very nice pool/spa area. My girlfriend and I were walking up and we hear splashing. Great, lots of people we think, so we take a look. Well, 3 guys we guess to be about 18 to 21 are throwing the plastic green beach chairs into the pool. Okay, you must be cool. They see us and stop and start loading up their things in a backpack. We walk over and they go away after a minute of their scrambling and fumbling. I noticed there are cameras pointed right at the pool, at least it is being filmed. They get to the outside of the fence and we see them looking with their phone flashlights in the backpack. They come back looking for something, but we don't know what. So I start looking for something, anything that shouldn't be in the area. I don't see anything, and by the time they come back a third time, they finally say something to us. They are looking for their car keys. Ha, what irony. I get a good look at the 3 as they are looking for their key. They find it and the guy that finds it says, "Nick, I'm driving, I'm the most sober." Wow. The whole time I am trying to figure out how I can get these guys, it has become clear that they don't live in the complex and they are just pulling a prank on some random complex. They are also about to be driving, possibly under the influence. My girlfriend says to them, "You better pull the chairs out, there are cameras and I will be speaking with the complex manager." One of the guys gets a scared look and says, okay, yeah, totally." They walk away and look at it and the 2 guys laugh and talk him out of it. Okay, I am frustrated. So we get ready to leave to get their license plate number. I get a feeling we should go out the opposite side where the main entrance is. We do and see a security watch. Of all the times I have seen a security guard, this is the happiest I have been. We tell him there's 3 guys about to possibly drink and drive that threw all the chairs in the pool that look underage. We tell him that we are not sure where their car is but saw where they went. So my girlfriend and I head to the apartment and I sneakily go around the apartments and find their car with them in it. Bingo! So I run back to my girlfriend and tell her I found them. The security guard comes from the area they were parked, asking me where they went. I told him what car it was and he asks what apartment we are at, and my girlfriend and I go back inside. Our roommate comes home an hour later and says, "Oh my gosh, there's like 3 cop cars over by the pool." So we tell him what happened and I go the sneaky way to where their car was. Still there, best guess one was 21 and supplied the alcohol to the others. Either way, they are in jail. That was last night. Tonight the security guard came back and asked for my name, saying all 3 went to jail. When I asked the charges, he said they were arrested for trespassing and underage drinking. The oldest was 17 and blew a .27, the middle was 15 and blew a .18, and the youngest was 14 and blew a .17. Sucks for them. Indeed guys, sucks for them, but they probably deserved it if you ask me. Maybe that teaches them a lesson for the future, which I hope. And the next one is an absolutely epic saga, even though it was not written by a native speaker, so maybe the English is not on par with some of the other stories, but I thought it was so interesting that it is still worth reading. It is titled, "Entitled Aunt Sold Grandma's House, but little did she know this was a big mistake." Well, this is my first story on Reddit, might be a long one as well. Hope you like it and hope it belongs here. Not sure if it is regular or pro-revenge. Entitled Aunt will be Karen for the story. Everything started several years ago, around 2013 or 2014 in Mexico. My entitled aunt has a history of harassing my grandma, her mom, with money loans, stealing her food and even making grandma pay for Karen's utility bills. My aunt harasses my grandma, saying it was her responsibility to make her daughter happy or that she was in a need, wouldn't her mother help her? To the point of pressuring my grandma into asking the bank for a loan. No one knew anything. My 65-year-old grandma had to start to work selling anything she could to pay the loan. In Mexico there are some products by catalog called Avon, Stanhome, Andrea shoes that you can offer and sell. Grandma started selling them. I mentioned this for you to understand what she started selling. To the point that she got sick due to stress. Her excuse to my mom is that she did it to make herself feel young. Grandma being a farmer all her life, we could understand she could not be sitting all day doing nothing. Since mom paid for her rent, food and utility bills, my mom let her be but always warned her to not overpressure herself. The time passed, it was now 2016 and she started accumulating late fees for not paying the loan on time. One day my mom received a call from my grandma's neighbor because grandma passed out due to stress. She rushed to her house to find her house empty. We thought that someone had stolen everything, but no, the loan fees were too high and the payment was overdue for over a year and the bank had taken everything from her house to pay the loan. And here is when we knew that entitled aunt harassed grandma into the loan. My mom was furious. She and my stepdad paid the loan and recovered grandma's stuff. It was around $7,000 in debt with the bank that my mom and stepdad ended up paying for grandma. From there and on, my mom hired a nurse and had my two younger sisters to go with grandma after school every day to take care of her. Mom worked in a different state, she only came on the weekends. This is why she asked my two sisters to take care of grandma. Also, they did not move due to stepdad's job and grandma. Both were in high school at the time and always had someone at home to avoid Karen coming to her house to steal goods or to harass grandma. 2016 passed, I finished university in 2015 and started working. I was able to get hired by a US company and start working and saving some money. In 2018, Mom and I decided to purchase a house for grandma. We did all the paperwork and purchased a house for her. By the way, if you wonder why grandma was paying rent and had no house, it is because the alcoholic grandpa lost their farm gambling. We knew that entitled aunt would try to trick grandma into giving it to Karen. This is why the house was at my name. Everything was great for the next years. Then 2020 came, the worst year overall, and we feared the worst. You know, COVID, and the inevitable happens, grandma passed away. We are glad to say that she had a peaceful death. She died in her sleep, happy and well taken care of from my mom's sisters and her nurse. We knew that Karen would try to make her moves. I asked my sisters to take her personal belongings away from the house to trick EA. They agreed, took any furniture out, clothes, anything from the house, even a small nail on the front door to hang some plants. They left the house empty. 3 to 4 weeks after this, my sister saw a big sign that said "For sale" with Karen's phone number on it. I knew the time to start the revenge was close. I asked my family to let her be, that I had something on my mind. 2 months after the sign, the house was sold and my sister saw people moving in. I felt bad for these people, but had something on my mind for them as well. 6 months passed after the new people moved into the house and then it was time to act. You may wonder why I took 6 months to act. Well, my entitled aunt has a history of wasting money. I waited for her to waste most of the money from the house that she illegally sold. Revenge time, this is for you, grandma. Event number 1. Before the virus hit, my wife and I had planned to go visit my mom for her to meet her granddaughter, so we continued with the plan. We took our precautions traveling. We went to Mexico to visit my mom. Event number 2. My stepdad was into politics his whole life. I asked him as a favor to search the most badass lawyer he knew for this, and we got the best. I present my case to him and gave him the original house scriptures. He said it was going to be an easy win. Event number 3. Like I did not know nothing, I went to grandma's house with my key copies and opened the house. This was part of the plan, even if there was already people living there. I acted surprised when I saw people inside the house and asked why are they in my house. The gentleman in the house stated he had purchased the house. I showed the house scriptures and he was shocked. He then mentioned that the paperwork was being completed and gave me the phone number of the agent. I apologized for coming in the house and went to the real estate office. Event number 4, arriving to the real estate office, I asked for the agent in charge of GM's house being sold. When he looked at me, it was like he saw his last hope. My assumption was that he thought I was going to agree to the house being sold. Our conversation was something like this. Me, hi, are you Mr. Agent selling the house and this address? Agent, yes, nice to meet you. We were trying to get a hold of you. Me, what for? Agent, we had a small issue with the paperwork. We only need your signature and the house will be sold. Me, this might be a mistake. I'm here to talk about the house being sold because I did not agree to sell anything. Saying this was like a cold bucket of water was poured onto him. The glow on his eyes were gone and he knew he effed up really bad. Agent, why is this change of mind? We've been talking via phone and you agreed to everything. You even mentioned to come as soon as you arrive in town. Me, you have been scammed. I've never talked to you before. And then I suggest calling me from the phone number we've been talking. He did and someone answered and surprise, surprise, it was not me. Then I just mentioned that I wanted my house back since I have never agreed to anything or I will legally proceed to sue them and walked away. From this point on, I knew everything was going to go down for Karen. 3 days passed and I encountered Karen at a Walmart parking lot. I politely approached her to say hi, like I did not know anything, but when saying goodbye, I then asked why she sold my house. She started to get nervous and negate everything until I mentioned that we have Mr. Lawyer who is suing her. A way to say that we have a badass lawyer in our side. She then tried to defend herself that Grandma gave her the house and that she had a paper with Grandma's signature. I just smiled and mentioned that Grandma did not have the power of doing that since the house was on my name and she better get her crap together because a storm was coming her way. 1 week passed and we did not hear anything from the agent. I pay him a visit again, it was hard to track him down. I tried 2 weeks to contact him with no luck, so we proceed to sue them. As soon as the sue was placed, I received a call from the agent to meet him. I refuse and hang up. I did this to make everything harder on him for avoiding me for 2 weeks. He then found out who my stepdad was and found my stepdad's office address. He had the audacity to visit my stepdad being a busy man, he ignored him and said to contact me and that he should have listened the first time. After 3 days of constant calls, my wife being sick of the calls made me answer and I agreed to meet. In the meeting, he gave me his version of the story and why the house was sold. He mentioned that Karen contacted them for a house to be sold. Karen stated it was her mom's, Grandma's house, and she inherited it. She then presented a paper with my grandma's signature with a fake last will, stating that the house belongs to my grandma and Karen was the new owner after Grandma passed away. This was BS of course, and then when the agent started the paperwork, he found out the house was in my name. He contacted Karen and she assured I agreed and gave him a fake phone number. This could be Karen's boyfriend or someone on her side, not sure as of today who it was. Agent was in contact with this fake me for a long time waiting for the paperwork and that he mentioned that I was going to visit him to sign the paperwork. This is why he was so happy when I arrived the first time. The agent begged to stop any legal action since he could go to jail. I agreed if he agreed to the following terms. A. Recover my house, make the people inside my house move out. B. Get a new house for the people currently in my house with the money they have already spent. He agreed to term A, but for term B he was not sure. I then stated that it was his fault for approving the paperwork without my signature and that he will need to recover the money from the agent to pay for the new home for the people currently in my house. They will need to solve this. I gave him 2 weeks to solve this or else I would sue them all. Event number 5, notify Karen about the fraud she had committed and she better had the money to return it. She did not take it very well, as always she acted like she was on the right, saying, "Grandma gave me this and no one can take it from me. We will see, Karen, we will see." Event number 6, I went to talk to the people in my house to give them a heads up of the issue and apologized for the misunderstanding since it was never their fault, explained that they will be moved soon to a new house and not to worry, the RSA will take care of everything. Event number 7, we got a call from the agent at the end of week 2. After we talked, he mentioned that my house was empty and that the people in there were in a new home as well. I called the gentleman that was in my house and he confirmed that they were in a new house and everything was good with the RSA. Also, my house was empty now. Event number 8, Karen, time to pay. Since the agent and I were in good terms, we started working together to sue Karen for fraud and identity theft. We went hard on her. We sent a letter for court notice and the date. She did not arrive. We sent a second letter and this time she did arrive, and while in court she never talked, at least not as an adult would. She was all the time crying and sobbing that we tricked her, that the house was hers, but all this was hard to understand with her desperate crying. We presented our evidence. We even brought the bank records when she harassed grandma into getting a bank loan. We brought witnesses. We had the whole circus set and ready for a big show. Badass lawyer was smooth talking and presenting everything, stating the house was in my name and that Karen has a history of tricking grandma. At the end, we won the case. Karen had no evidence other than the fake last will from grandma, which was written by Karen and only had grandma's signature. Not only that, no lawyer was informed of this to back her up. The sentence: Karen was to give back all the money she got from the house, around $20,000. Did the conversion from MXN to US dollars in Google for you to understand. It was half of the house price since the paperwork was not completed, and she had 2 weeks for this and then a 9 years in prison sentence for fraud and identity theft. Damn guys, I was so happy for this. When the judge gave the sentences, Karen was speechless. She could not even say a word. She even stopped crying. Her world and life had just collapsed in front of her eyes. From that time on, I have not spoken with Karen or anyone about this besides my mom, sisters and stepdad. This was on November of last year, 2020. I don't know if Karen was able to pay everything back, but I did know that when the cops went to her house to arrest her, she tried to scrape and was on the run for 2 days until she was caught riding a bus to Veracruz scraping, at least attempting to escape. And this was the story of Karen trying to sell my house. And guys, I would just like to remind you, if you have any interesting stories to share that you would like me to read in a video, then please don't forget to post these stories on Reddit on r/ripe stories, which is our own subreddit. And in case your story is interesting, there's a good chance that I might read it in a video in the future. Sometimes I also read stories from the comments or from emails, but especially from comments, aka in the YouTube comment section. It is kind of difficult to read these stories because the YouTube comment system is sort of complicated and convoluted. And the last one is from r/ProRevenge and is titled Noisy Resort Neighbor Gets His Secret Spilled. Happened a few days ago, throwaway for obvious reasons. My wife and I decided to go to Southern California for the holidays. We found ourselves a nice resort and checked in. All was well until we noticed that the walls in our room were very thin. As we entered our room, we could hear our next door neighbor talking and having an argument with his girlfriend. We shared one common wall with them. They were shouting pretty loud and we could hear everything through the wall. We will refer to this guy as Noisy Neighbor NN. NN kept fighting with his girlfriend about something she said earlier. We did not follow, were not interested and decided to go eat and explore around the town we were in. We came back around 10 at night and all was quiet. We figured that NN and his girlfriend already went to bed, so we went to bed as well. Turns out he was out. NN and his girlfriend come back at 12, laughing and really loud. Loud to the point that we could hear them and hear their entire conversation. Looks like they made up after the fighting that morning. We hear the girlfriend say that she is hungry and NN calls for pizza delivery. It was there that we heard NN's name, phone number and credit card info. Not that we would do anything with it, they kept chatting and laughing and we could hear every bit of their conversation through the thin walls. Wife and I try earplugs, radio and everything we could think of to drown out the noise. We were hoping that they would eventually turn in for the night and there would be some peace and quiet. Yet NN was full of energy and boyish laughter. Finally, at 2 AM, we decided to call the concierge and let the resort security deal with it. The resort we stayed at was meant for mindfulness and mediation, so it did enforce some quiet hours. Security called them up and told them that they were too loud and to keep their voices down. This did the trick for some time and we fell asleep. Only to be woken up again at around 5 AM to some really loud intercourse. Like moaning and screaming from the girlfriend. After they were done with their business, they washed up and just kept talking. Laying there in bed, I heard all about NN's job, where he was from, where he grew up, his political views, and so on. Finally, at 6 or so, we called up the front desk again. This time security actually came and knocked on their door to tell them to keep their voices down as it was still officially quiet hours. NN and his girlfriend were furious that they could be disturbed when they were just having fun and having a good time. They claimed that they were not loud at all and why can't they just have some fun? They threatened to leave poor reviews for the resort and made sure that all of their friends would hear about this. Security took that all in, gave them their warning and left. After security left, NN and his girlfriend started talking crap about wife and me through the wall, knowing that we could hear it. Stuff like, "Our neighbors are such a-holes," probably racial slur. "What's wrong with intercourse with my girlfriend, huh? Too loud for you?" And just deliberately talked to his girlfriend in a really loud voice, talking about how great the intercourse was and how she was going to scream and moan louder next time. I was frustrated at this time with very little sleep. I took out my cell phone and recorded everything that we were hearing, hoping to show the front desk just how little soundproof the room was and hopefully ask for a room change. But then something happened. At 7 or so, we heard NN's phone ring and suddenly NN and GF were really silent. Then I hear NN say, "Hi," NN's wife. "How are you, sweetie? I just woke up here at the conference. Long day ahead. I miss you so much." It turns out NN was cheating on his wife with his mistress over Christmas. At this point, my wife and I hatched a plan. With all the information that we had on NN, his wife's name and where they lived, we started combing Facebook and yellowpages.com for more information. Lo and behold, we found what NN looked like, old man in his 50s, and his wife. All the information matched up with what we had been talking about all night, and plus his zip code when he ordered pizza. A bit more digging and we found where NN's wife worked and her email address. A simple outlook.com email address later, I compressed the recording I had and sent it to NN's wife. The best part is that the recording contained NN's wife's phone call to NN, so she had no doubt it was definitely NN. Exhausted with little sleep, my wife and I decided to just get up and go get some breakfast around town. We come back a few hours later and stop by the concierge desk. We wanted to thank them and their security for trying to help us get some sleep and to ask for another room. Turns out we did not need a room switch. They checked out this morning, a few days earlier than scheduled, the concierge told us. She mentioned something about an urgent family concern that NN had to attend to. Looks like our plan had worked much better than we had hoped for. The rest of our stay at the resort was quiet and uneventful. No one else checked into that room. I did show the front desk parts of my recording just so they know that they need to work on soundproofing their rooms in the future. And Ripe stars, unfortunately we have already reached the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. However, if you cannot wait for more Ripe content, then I suggest you head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where you can find more exclusive Reddit content read by me. Patreon subscriptions start at just $1 per month, and for $1 your name will show up at the end of each of my new videos. However, if you are willing to spend $3 per month, you will get access to more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos, mostly just no mother-in-law stories. However, please understand, I don't want to pressure anyone into spending money, because I am already incredibly grateful that you watch my videos every single day. Thank you so much for your daily support, it really means the world to me, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for the next video.